All right. I'll just say something along the lines because I want to kind of show the road conditions. Let's say, let's get a bigger, closer look at the sky cam in Odessa showing the roads looking a little slick. Hey everyone, Chief Meteorologist Jordan Frazier here. What we're looking at right now is a mix of everything possible as we head into those late overnight hours with this winter system pushing its way through the Permian Basin and much of West Texas before it actually moves its way farther out into North and Central Texas where it's going to have bigger impacts. Not much of a surprise there. We tend to see some pretty dry conditions out here to begin with, but let's go ahead and take a fuller look right now at our camera over downtown Odessa. Notice a little bit of that kind of slickness on the roads. We've been seeing at least a little bit of those rain showers, and unfortunately, because we're already at the freezing point, well, we're actually going to see that turn into freezing rain. Keep in mind your car too. Yeah, you might see like, oh, it looks like a little bit of rain fell on my car, but then you go outside and it turns out it's a little bit icy. Keep in mind your car's mainly metal and glass. That stuff is going to cool off a lot faster than something like the ground. So yeah, you might want to have your car running for just a little bit longer. If you have that automatic remote start, it's going to be kind of helpful in those types of situations. Current conditions right now out of the Midland International Airport shows about 32 degrees. You throw in a little bit of that wind. Winds are really calm right now, north at about 5 miles an hour, but it feels like 27. You have a bit of that higher humidity value on top of it as well. But you look over across the board, yeah, everyone is right around that freezing point. We got Midland, Odessa basically at that freezing point. Andrews, Seminole as well. Fort Stockton is down there on top of it. Alpine and Van Horn, that's when they've actually gotten a little bit closer to that freezing point, and they've kind of been there since earlier this morning. Haven't gotten out of it because of all that cloud cover. Now, projected temperatures were a bit warmer today, but we wouldn't be seeing near as much winter precipitation if we were actually around 38, 39 like originally projected. Radar right now. This is where things are starting to get a little bit more active. And we've already seen most of that activity situated in the northern part of the region. I'm talking Hobbs, Seminole, Andrews, Lovington, even out toward Carlsbad. Notice a lot of that darker blue. That's going to be some of that heavier snowfall. Now, this version of the radar tends to overestimate a little bit, so a lot of that white background that you're seeing is actually showing a little bit of the stuff in the upper part of the atmosphere, not necessarily the lower part. Moving into the Permian Basin, all right, Andrews, Lenora, and Big Springs starting to see a little bit of those light kind of flaky showers. Again, not a lot of it hitting the ground, and if it does, it could certainly change the way it looks over as well. Actually, Odessa and Midland, yeah, we already did get a little bit of that. I just went outside and, well, it looks like from our station here in Odessa, well, we're actually seeing a little bit more of that freezing rain as opposed to that actual sticking snowfall. And that's what most of this is going to be, at least for now. Once we start to see widespread freezing temperatures, you're not going to see a whole lot of that snowfall. You're just going to see it turn to water and then freeze over. That's what leads to some of those very dangerous driving conditions. Moving farther south in toward Crane and Rankin. Look at Rankin and Ira Ann. They're around that point where, hey, temperatures, even in the upper part of the atmosphere, not looking the most ideal. That's where we're seeing a lot of that, hey, rain, freezing rain, mixed precipitation, sleet, or even a little bit of that grapple too. That's going to be kind of the mix in between, you know, snow and even some of that hail. Now, we're not looking at severe weather by any means, but definitely more of those ice crystals as opposed to that nice fluffy snow. Down toward Sanderson and even heading out toward Ozona, still seeing a little bit of that mixed precipitation. Again, unless you're in really high elevations, I'm not expecting a whole lot of that accumulating snowfall. As we really push the way into the later part of tonight, we're still going to see more and more of this activity, especially in the northern part of Interstate 20, Northern Basin, southeastern New Mexico. That's going to be the latest on that. But I want to point something out here. what's this? Why are we kind of in a bubble along Interstate 20? Well, it's because we kind of are. It really depends on not just the industrialization of both Midland, Odessa, and Big Spring, but also on the mountains and the high elevations just out to the west. West of Pecos and west of Fort Stockton, those mountains, they're going to kind of break apart any significant snowstorms or just weather in general. That's why we don't tend to see a lot of that activity located along the I-20 corridor. And that goes even not just for winter events, but also regular rain events. We kind of have a bubble over the city, and it acts like it too. But it's not even just us. Notice this. Moving out toward Dallas, they're under that pink. Now that pink is going to be that winter storm warning. This is all from the same system on a global scale, but they're going to be impacted a little bit more, and that extends all the way up into a lot of those southeastern states as well. So cold conditions all around on top of us, maybe not too significant. Here's what I got for us going into the overnight hours. 28 degrees, so not dropping off too much from where we're at right now. You got pretty calm winds too, so we're not looking at any kind of blowing snow, blowing freezing precipitation now. But notice I only have 30%. 30%, that is the main kind of idea here. Not everyone's going to see it. As a matter of fact, less than half of you guys are going to see any major impacts from this. And I want to continue to emphasize that. As much as, I'd like to see some snowfall, I don't want to see all of our water main breaks go out. I don't want to see a bunch of businesses and schools close down. But hey, a little fluffy snow every once in a while, sure, we can do that. We're not built for that kind of climate out here. As you head out tomorrow, yeah, even right now, you might have to scrape off your windshield. We got a bit of that freezing rain. If you don't have a scraper, here's some quick little tips. Maybe even use just a plastic credit card. It's going to be very easy. It's not going to scratch up your windshield or your car whatsoever, because plastic on glass or metal isn't going to have any impacts. Or if you don't want to stand out in the cold and scrape off your windshield, go into your car, turn on the defroster. You might have to wait a little bit though. The car engine, it warms, but it needs to warm up first. Where do you think your heat comes from? It actually comes from the heat of the engine. When the engine's cold, that's why it takes a while, even in the newest cars, for that engine to heat up and for you to actually see, hey, it's actually warmer in the car. If you do have to drive tomorrow, maybe you work for an essential business, maybe nothing has really closed down because impacts are minimal, what I recommend, keep your headlights on. You got that mixed precipitation throughout the region. We're going to need those wipers too because of the wet and icy windshields, and have that defroster on as well because you're going to have some of those foggy windows, and we're going to have some of that, again, moisture beginning to build up on the windshield. You want to make sure your wipers aren't wiping over ice, they're wiping over water. Future track has been consistently changing over the last couple of days. Notice this. All right, we're going into about 6 o'clock right now. Yeah, it might not represent exactly what we're seeing, but really 9 o'clock or so, start to see a little bit more of that wintry precipitation north of Interstate 20, maybe a mix by Marfa and Alpine, where they've been a little bit on the chillier side. Going into the early part of the morning, again, you could certainly see a couple of those snow flurries, maybe some of it sticking, but not too big in terms of precipitation amounts. A lot of that freezing rain, that's going to be that pink stuff that you see south of Interstate 20, right along I-10, Fort Stockton, Ozona, Big Lake, San Angelo, and even out a little bit toward Abilene. That's going to be that dangerous stuff. That's when, hey, it's below freezing on the ground. Maybe the atmosphere just hasn't cooled off enough yet, or there's enough heat from these storms that we still see heat in the atmosphere, keeping that water as water, not as ice. Hits the ground, freezes instantaneously. That's what makes freezing rain so dangerous. We can drive in the snow relatively fine, especially if we have our roads treated, but ice is ice. It's not going, you're not going to have any significant control over your vehicle. Pushing out a little bit more toward tomorrow morning around 7 o'clock, that's actually not bad at all. I believe Fort Stockton said that they are delaying school for about an hour or so. This is likely the reason why, because once we get into the early part of the morning, not much in terms of precipitation. It gives also that ice a little bit of a chance to melt. I have projected highs tomorrow at about 39 degrees for Midland, Odessa. Not too bad. As we push into the later part of the morning, you're going to see a quick little go around. Notice right about there in southeast New Mexico, Carlsbad, Artesia, yeah, you're starting to see a little bit of that snowfall trying to push its way into the Guadalupe Mountains around Van Horn, but then it begins to kind of melt away just a little bit. Okay, we get into the midnight hours, it freezes back again. Marfa Alpine still seeing that snow potential, maybe even a quick little flurry for Big Spring, Midland, Odessa, and then it kind of fizzles out. Strong northerly winds take over for Friday. That's why we're still staying relatively chilly during that time. Then we don't have to worry about it anymore. All throughout your Friday, look at that nice clear skies, plenty of sunshine. Temperatures are projected to warm up a bit more during that time frame. Here's what I'm really keeping an eye on. Impacts going into the later part of tonight into the early morning on Friday. We're seeing a mix of freezing rain, snow, and ice. Avoid the roads if you can. If you can't, just make sure you're giving yourself plenty of space. Make sure that you are giving yourself plenty of room to hit the brakes as well, because you might be good at driving in the snow. Not everyone is. Believe me, I've lived in snowy areas and it works both ways. All right, future snowfall. This is probably the most realistic model I have seen lately. Yes, some of them earlier last week were saying 7 to 9 inches. Why do you think I wasn't showing you those? Because that's not realistic for us. Yes, we have seen record snowfall get up to 5 to even 10 inches. The last time we saw that was during Snowmageddon in 2021. So no, we're not looking at anything like that. As a matter of fact, a few hundredths, maybe a tenth of an inch, if we're lucky. High elevations, Van Horn, Guadalupe Pass, maybe even Artesia, they've been seeing a lot of that accumulation lately. Okay, that makes sense. Everyone else? Not so much. Don't get your hopes up. That's not what I'm here to do. So over the next 7 days, what I got for you, weather impact alert for your Thursday and Friday for a mix of that wintry activity, rain, sleet, freezing rain, maybe even some graupel, but you might see the snow during those overnight hours when we are below freezing. Once we get past Thursday, and really once we get into Friday afternoon and evening, we are going to see really nice conditions going into the later part of your Saturday, Sunday. Look at that, 50s for the highs, plenty of sunshine. That's right where we should be for this time of year. It's actually completely normal to be about 57 for the high and 32 for the low. Saturday, we're just a degree off on both of those factors. Not bad whatsoever, but if we have any more winter weather, you know exactly who to turn to. That's going to be us. Make sure, hey, if you don't have our app to download the News West 9 app, available for free on the App Store and Google Play. Just go ahead and scan that QR code there. You can also read my article that I post online. I update it every day. We update it in the mornings as well with meteorologist Aurora Murray. We also clip our videos from the show, so maybe you missed out on the show. Don't worry, you can watch live broadcasts from the app as well. Also on your Apple TV, Roku, or even Fire Stick as well. Make sure you stay tuned for the latest and also check out my Facebook page, Chief Meteorologist Jordan Frazier. I have been posting a couple of updates on there as well. Hope you guys stay safe. We'll keep you updated in case anything else changes.